Namaste. Welcome to Lunar Mysticism Vidya YouTube channel. So today I want to talk about the origins of the most widely used Hindu calendar, the Vikram Samvat or Vikram Samvat. But first let's begin by honoring Lord Ganesh in our practice today. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvigham Kuru Me Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. And we honor our Guru Parampara. Om Aim Gurave Namaha. And Goddess Saraswati in our studies. Om Aim Saraswataye Namaha. So the story of the calendar actually begins with two kings and a yogi. And the two brothers, Bhartrihari and Vikramaditya, were dwellers of the city of Ujjain. The first king of Ujjain was Bhartrihari. After a series of events which led up to him meeting Yogi Gorakshanath of the Nath Panthi, at a time when Raja Bhartrihari was in a personal crisis. He had everything. He had multiple wives. He was living the good life, you can say. And then one day he had a realization that he had to renounce the throne, and this was all prompted by the blessing of Guru Gorakshanath. And Bhartrihari went on to become, according to the legend, this is another story completely, but I'll give you the short version, that he renounced the throne and went on to wander for 12 years and became a very enlightened being in the Nath Panthi. So after this time, who was to take over the throne? Well, his brother Vikramaditya became king after his brother Bhartrihari became a yogi. So let's find out how this all happened and what led up to the creation of this calendar. King Vikramaditya came from the few great kings of this era who became emperors of the Chakravarti after performing the Ashwamedha Yagya. Okay, so they were called Chakravarti Samvat. Samvat means the wheel who's moving, whose chariot is rolling everywhere without obstruction. Chakravarti Samvat means a king who rules in all four directions, and no one dares to challenge him. The one who rules over his subjects ethically and benevolently and is a conqueror of the entire world. Not only did Emperor Vikramaditya trample the Arabs in Europe, but he also defeated Rome's king Julius Caesar in battle. Vikramaditya's empire stretched from present-day India to Africa, Rome, to the present-day Arab world, making Ujjain its capital. The defeat of the Shakas led to the creation of the Vikram Samvat Calendar in 57 Common Era. And here we have a picture of the kingdom of Vikramaditya. What was exceptional about his rule was not only the creation of the calendar, but the scholars in his court that inspired his everyday choices. These became known as the Navaratna. They were the advisors to the king. This was during the golden age of Bharat. The Navaratna were honored and respected members of the royal court. King Vikramaditya was an exemplary ruler and patron of arts and sciences. The original Navaratna are Dhanvantari, who is responsible for Ayurveda. Now, there are several Dhanvantaris. There is the god of medicine, Dhanvantari, and then there was the person in the court of Vikramaditya. Kalidasa, who was a famous poet and dramatic artist. Vararuchi, a grammarian and Sanskrit scholar. Shanku, architecture and mathematics. Amara Simha, a Sanskrit lexicographer. Shapanaka, an astrologer, Jyotish Shastra. Varamahira, all of us Jyotishis know him because he wrote the Brihad Jatak and the Jyotish Shastras. There's Vitala Bhatta, who was a mantra shastra master and tantric. Harisena, a poet. And Gata Karpara, a poet. Now, these last two are debated often and mentioned, so we can even say there are 10 people in this court. So about the calendar, it's a solar lunar calendar which is comprised of 12 months, and the months are based on the transit of the moons. Now in North India and South India, there's different ways to call the months. Some will call the month according to the full moon, and some will call the month according to the new moon. So the months are Chaitra, Vaishakha, Jaista, Ashada, Shravana, Bhadra, Ashvina, Kartika, Margashirsha, Pausha, Magha, and Falguna. This is a solar lunar calendar, the most accurate and scientific calendar, established in 57 with the new year beginning on Chaitra Shukla Paksha Amavasya, which is the bright phase of the new moon in the month of Chaitra. So if we look at Chaitra, Chaitra is falling in March, April. So the new moon between March and April is going to be the beginning of the year. This is also based on the transits of the sun. So if we know at that time what is happening with the sun during Chaitra month. In the year, there's 354 days. Now, according to this calculation, there will be every 3 years, there will be an extra month. This is added between the months of Ashwin and Kartik. So if we go back, Ashwin and Kartik. So between September, October, and November, there is an extra month called Adhika Masa. The Vikram Samvat is 57 years ahead of the Gregorian calendar. Now, a tradition that was of the past, the monarchs were obliged to settle all debts before the new year began in Chaitra Shukla Paksha Amavasya. Thank you so much for listening to today's short presentation on the Vikram Samvat calendar. If you have any queries on your chart, here are my socials, my email, and as always, please visit my website or visit the Parashara Conference website, and you can see that I will be participating this year again in the Maharishi Parashara Conference, a global virtual conference in satsang for Jyotish lovers.